Hi everyone! Today in this video we're going to learn 2 to 4 player games Bedeville Carnival, which I explain rules right here. There is a place where death is not the end, but the beginning of the unique adventure. Your adventure starts when you find yourself as a corpse for a nearby cemetery. You don't know how or why you end up on this cemetery, but every night the strange force wakes you up and plays one of the Bedeville's attractions. The game is played in consecutive players' turns. Each player has the goal of collecting the most joy markers and the card of souvenirs with victory points, which are sold in the local booth. When there is the only one set of souvenirs to buy, the game concludes. The player who at the end has the most victory points awarded for their joy markers and souvenirs collected becomes the winner. Every player picks their favorite undead, unafraid of any, even the most dangerous attractions. Next you draw the attraction cards, where your character will be move on from attraction to attraction by resolving its effect and add noise markers. By visiting more and more attractions and performing action from the attractions, you will attempt to outsmart your graveyard friends. By using action in a smart way, a player will attempt to hold their position on a specific attraction. Only in this way they will be able to buy souvenirs next turn. At the end of each turn, players draw one of the trickster tokens from the back and check out what destiny has in store. Attractions generate noise markers. When you add in noise markers to an attraction, the bigger a chance that the gravekeeper comes and chases you back to the cemetery. Rounds in the game are played through consecutive turns in which players have 6 actions to perform. The first 2 are optional and non-mandatory, while the next 4 are mandatory and must be performed exactly as described in the central part of the player's screen, here in the place. We will consider each of them immediately one by one, starting with the exchange a joy marker action. This is the first action of turn for each player and also is the simplest action in the game. A player just can exchange one of his joy markers of any color for any other joy markers from the pool. This is needed when we want to conveniently use a second optional action, buy a souvenir. This is the only time in each player's turn when he can pay a number of joy markers described on the card of the souvenir to take the souvenir behind his player's screen. The player also can buy souvenir not from the local booth, but also in the neighboring booths, but in that case, the price is increased by 1 joy marker of any color. Now we move on to the description of mandatory actions. As said before, these actions must be performed exactly in the order as it is described on the player's screen. The first action among them is the Visiting Attractions action. In the player's turn, the player must move his character's standee to an adjacent unoccupied attraction. He can choose the attractions left or right, or he can choose the attraction which is exactly on the opposite side of the board. Right away, I might point out how I understand the term unoccupied attraction. An attraction is considered occupied when the character's standee is situated there, or the Mr. Carl standee. The next action is Gaining Joy. The player retrieves 2 joy markers assigned to an attraction to which he has moved his character's standee and places them behind his screen. In this case, I'm placing 2 blue. He does this because the information about the number of skulls and their colors is kept secret from other players. The third mandatory action, perform an attraction action and add noise. The player performs the effect which is described on the attraction card and add the exact number of noise markers which are described here, in this case just 1. These markers will determine which attraction will be loudest in the Luna Park, so that Mr. Carl can come there and catch the character that is there. But we will consider the activation of Mr. Carl a little bit later. The last mandatory action to perform is draw a trickster token. The player draws one of trickster tokens from the pouch and considers its effect. Then he must place the resolve token on the board. But the only exception in this case is the Mr. Carl activation token. When its effect is resolved, he must return to the back with all lying on the board tokens. Now we can move to the activation of Mr. Carl. Mr. Carl can be moved only in the effect of Trickster tokens or an attraction's action. He is moved in accordance with the chosen direction of movement. The direction that Mr. Carl will be moving is determined by the arrow shown on this standee. Every time Mr. Carl is moved or changed places with the character standee, he ends up on a new attraction. In this case, we must perform the following steps. If a character standee is placed on that attraction, the standee gets moved behind the player's screen, and the player controlling it has to discard one of their joy markers to the pool. Next, we need to discard all noise markers and joy markers, if there are any, from this card of attraction. Also, we need to discard the attraction card to the discard pile. Next, we are discarding one visible souvenir from the attraction booth and make a replacement of the attraction from the next attraction card. The last step we need to do, we need to change the Mr. Carl's direction of movement. Also, consider that in this video we are describing the game of Bedeville Carnival without Fleabag, the mean black cat. He has his own setup and activation rules, and games with him become more challenging, but I will leave this information for you to learn on your own. So this is all you need to know to play Bedeville Carnival correctly. Thanks for your attention, and good luck with the gathering joy.